Well, good morning. I'd like to make a mention on this Sage News Live. Now, this is nothing against the guy. He does a great job. And also follow the Economic Ninja. If you don't follow that, you're probably not making a wise choice in your viewership. Okay, so I had some people call me out and say, oh, how do you know that quota source and all that stuff? I hate those people because they're like trolls, you know what I'm saying? But here we go. I'm going to talk about the first part of it. A history lesson on why shortages. Okay? I explained to you back in the 80s what we did to the Japanese market where we tanked it. And somebody got rich off of that. So basically what happened back in the 80s, this is in the Carter years with all the long gas lines and all that stuff. I remember that because I sat in one in Las Vegas in the heat in the summer for 10 gallons of gas when you had a odd or even day for the license plates. Trust me, I've seen an oil situation like we're seeing now. So what happened was that we started shipping all our stuff over to Japan. I'm going to explain this again because it's in the first video. All our jobs, our industry was shipped over to Japan, and they built huge factories. They built a lot of infrastructure. And like I said, when you build a lot of infrastructure, you have to spend a lot of money. You borrow a lot of money. When you borrow a lot of money, guess what happens? You pay a lot of money in loan repayments. And the way they were shipping stuff back to us, it wasn't the Japanese that were making the money off it. They were making like a grocery store makes in profits, 1 to 3%. It was the middleman in this country that made the cash. Okay? They made the profit, not the Japanese. So when you make as much money as a grocery store, 1 to 3% profit per year, it takes a long time to pay off millions of dollars worth of infrastructure you have to build these products to ship over to the United States. Plus, we put a tariff on those goods eventually. There was like a $50 or $45 tariff on every stupid chip. So that only not made things more expensive, but with the declining amounts of massive layoffs and job losses in the 70s and the 80s, that led to people buying what they're doing now, just buying food and gas. They weren't buying those products anymore. So what happened? Well, those tariffs caused the Japanese to actually dump those products on the market because they were cash starved at less than it cost to make them. But somebody in the middle got rich. Now what do you see in China? What you see in China is the same thing. They have massive infrastructure. There's many companies over there in China that are on the verge of bankruptcy, and they've been living off a 1 to 3% profit, while the people in the United States, the middleman, gets rich. You think they make money in building Apple products over in China? No. They make the money off of selling the Apple products here and into Europe and stuff like that. The middleman, which is Apple at this point, makes the damn money. I hate to get a little explicit on this stuff, but I'm telling you the truth. The fact that we slowed down the ships out there in the ports now means that they're overstocked. And they're overstocked inventory in the stores. There's inventory sitting off the shores. And what are people doing right now? They can't afford nothing more than food and gas, if even that. Some of them can't afford rent. They're moving back in with their parents, even if they're 50 years old. Okay? Now you look at just look at this one right here. This is this guy, I forget his name, Reventure Consulting. Okay? Good channel. I watch that channel along with the Economic Ninja and Sage News Live and a few others. I watch Kathy Woods and that guy from Twitter and Elon do their little session too. And Peter Schiff. I watch Peter Schiff quite a bit. Smart man. You look at the inventory of non-food items. Walmart and Target are full of them right now. They have a huge, massive surplus. So are they going to be able to take those stuff that's coming off those ships that are waiting offshore for months and liquidate them? No, they're just going to have to take the loss, and they're going to take it in the shorts, and they're just going to throw it out there on the market for the general retailers. In other words, the eBayers. Okay? So they're going to dump products as fast as they can to recover their money. They're going to lose money on their inventory. The Chinese are going to lose money on their inventory because they're not going to get what they expect for it. No, they're not. The people that are going to make money are the people that are going to be the general retailers. They're going to sell this stuff to you on eBay for a much lower price. That's your reality. And this is also the same thing that happened to Japan. Japan lost their butts on having to sell stuff for cheaper than it cost them to make it. Guess what's going to happen to China? You got it. Because when they say, oh, sorry, we just can't take any more inventory from you. Well, I know we ordered this stuff, but, hey, you're going to have to take it in shorts. What do you think China's going to do? They think they're going to ship it back? They got no clients. They're going to have to go to a retailer, little guy like you and me, and sell off pallets of it. I know a guy that used to go in and buy like $60,000 worth of stuff at one time in auctions. Guess where this stuff's going? That's offshore. Most of it's going to go to auctions unless it's really needed and needs to be stocked by these big retailers. That's the point I make for number one. Because somebody said, oh, where's your sources? Where's your whatever? Okay, Yori, here you go. And I'm telling you history at the same time. Now, that nothing against you, dude, but, you were kind of rude to me. Because I know what I'm talking about, and I talk about the truth. Now, let's talk about the events leading to the attack on Pearl Harbor. In 1940, Japan invaded French Indonesia in an effort to embargo all imports to China, including war supplies purchased from the U.S. This move prompted the United States to embargo all oil imports, leading to the Imperial Japanese Navy to estimate it had less than 2 years of bunker oil remaining and support. And that's actually not true. It's 6 months, by the way. This is wrong. Wikipedia. Don't believe everything you read on Wikipedia. It's garbage sometimes. But we basically embargoed oil to Japan, starving them off, and guess what they did? They attacked us. And why did they attack us? Because FDR knew, for Christ's sakes, that they would attack us and get us into World War II so we could go in there into Europe and finish off the Nazis. He did it on purpose. And I know this for a fact. Point number 3. In the 1400s, China owned the greatest seagoing fleet in the world, up to 3,500 ships at its peak. The U.S. Navy today only has 430. Some of them were 5 times the size of ships being built in Europe at the time. Okay? So when I said that China had the largest navy in the world in the 1400s, I wasn't lying. And I'll tell you what, all these links are going to be right below in the links box so you can all look at it yourself and figure it out yourself. Now, this eventually, I said that it led to the fall of the Ming Dynasty. Okay? The Ming Dynasty actually collapsed in the 1640s, but it started in the 1400s when they had the largest navy. You see what happened here? They had the largest navy in the 1400s, and oops, spore momentum comes along, and then it drops, and then it bounces a little bit, and then keeps on dropping down to the modern minimum. And that's when the Ming Dynasty really collapsed. But the Chinese had the greatest shipping in the world. They were merchants, people. Even more so than the Dutch back in the 1400s. But when the modern minimum and the spore minimum kicked in, that caused drought, floods, economic upheavals, and no dynasty in China has survived that yet. So why do you think China's being mute with their mouth right now? What's going on with Russia and UKR? You know why? Because they want to keep on the trade path. They don't want to get involved in a conflict that's going to cost them a lot. By the way, check out David Devine. He does a great job on the Grand Solar Minimum, and he's very knowledgeable, has many links to that and data and to support what he's saying. And a bunch of these nice little charts that tell you a lot of things. Guy knows what he's talking about. So there's his whatever. And let's talk about the modern minimum and the fall of the Ming Dynasty. In June 1644, the great Ming Empire that had ruled China since 1368 came to an end when the Manchu tribesmen from the north took Beijing and founded the Qing rule. There is no easy way to explain how the Mancus, with a population of 1 million, could by 1644 seize the throne of China. You see what I said? It eventually led to the downfall of the Ming Dynasty from the grand solar minimum right here, okay, which ended up being the modern minimum. But it started over here in the Sporter minimum. You're talking about 200 or 300 years of rule by a dynasty that collapsed. Why did it collapse? It collapsed because the weather changed. Climate change, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. The weather changes, the climate changes, and guess what? When you get droughts and floods in severe weather, everything collapses. We could even be on the precipice of collapse in the United States. Why do you think Russia wants all that land that's nice and fertile over there for growing for centuries, for thousands of years, that's been stable through most of these minimums, grand solar minimums? Why do you think Russia wants that? Because they're going offline. So is parts of China right now, as far as being able to grow certain types of food like wheat and corn. Why do you think everybody's talking about a wheat shortage right now and a corn shortage is next? Why do you think they're talking about it? Because guess where we're at? We're in a new grand solar minimum. We're approaching it, okay? And what are we going to see? Well, we had a warming period. It was over here. See that? That was nice. This is, and if you look at the scale of this, we're still in an ice age, a mini ice age, okay? Folks, we're still in a mini ice age. We still are. We're just going to slip a little farther into it. Now, people talk about the world burning up. Yes, in a grand solar minimum, there's parts of the world that get really hot, and there's parts of the world that get really cold. And guess where the really cold part starts? Where all the food's been grown traditionally. That's why when we see in the U.S., we're going to see a 50 to 100 miles shift south of the growing season. Okay? We're going to see that soon. We're going to see that certain crops aren't going to grow up north like they used to. They're going to have to resort to, like, instead of growing wheat in Canada, they're going to have to grow rye or something like that. Or, I forget what it's called again. Jeez. Anyways. All right. So when I quote stuff in a chat, I talk about facts. I don't care about your politics. I don't care about your religion. I'm quoting you the truth and the facts. So thanks for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you would. And I hope you enjoyed the content and the truth of history. Thank you for watching.